What's up, Tar Heel Nation? Nathan here, one half of the Hill Brothers. And before we get into the Duke, North Carolina preview, I just wanted to say that we did a collaboration with another North Carolina YouTuber, Russ the Tar Heel from the Tar Heel Huddle. It was an absolutely great time. If you get the chance, go over there and click the whole live stream. You kind of get to see us just hanging out and just having a good time before we get into the preview. It's a long one, I know, but it's really good and worth the whole listen. I believe you guys are really going to enjoy this one. Anyway, enjoy the preview. North Carolina and Duke come in to this game. North Carolina 6 at 17-4, 9-1 in the conference, and Duke comes in 16-4 overall, 7-2 in the conference. Russ, give us a little bit of a breakdown on the history of these two teams, Duke and North Carolina, and tell us how we got to this matchup, bro.
So, according to Wikipedia, which is obviously the most reliable source, North Carolina holds a 143-117 record all time against the Puke Blue Devils. Now, Duke and North Carolina have been playing since 1920. North Carolina won the first game, of course, 36-25. Puke ends up winning the next two games, but then Carolina rips off 16 straight, which is still the active longest streak in this series. And then
Does
obviously
this say the years on that? Like what years those are?
I'd have to go back and look, man. It's like 1923 to 1940 almost, you know. So
let's go, bro. Hey, a win streak's
way
a win.
back.
Let's go.
Way back when.
Yeah.
So
I'm not even sure my grandpa's alive for that.
Yeah, hey man, 16 straight though, bro. They all count. That's what I tell these guys.
That doesn't matter.
Yep.
It counts in the record book.
They all stinking count, bro. So, but yeah, man. So 16 straight. So obviously they dominated from the beginning, and then unfortunately, obviously last year Carolina got swept by Puke. So, you know, I know really don't want to talk about that. This is, 2023, 2024. We're about to change that, but that's kind of where we're coming from right now, bro.
Well, North Carolina opens up this matchup this Saturday as a kind of a heavy favorite right now, according to ESPN. They don't have the over and unders listed just yet, but the current matchup predictor per ESPN is Carolina with a 67% chance of a victory this coming Saturday.
Yep.
Both teams have had some.
That'll probably put them at a 5.5 to 6.5 point favorite.
Give or take.
Yeah. At home. Yeah, at home.
About 2-3 possessions, give or take.
Yeah.
There at home, especially with Carolina. Carolina having a phenomenal month of January all the way up until last night, unfortunately, where they took a loss to Georgia Tech. Both Duke and Carolina both share a loss to Georgia Tech in Georgia Tech's building. Duke sitting at 16-4, losses coming to Arizona, at Arkansas, at Georgia Tech, and then versus Pitt at home just a couple of weeks ago now. North Carolina's losses on the year. As a matter of fact, I saw a stat that they're 0-2 in Atlanta this year. One loss coming to Villanova, one to UConn, the one to Kentucky, and also last night in Georgia Tech. A tale of two different teams. I think the narrative between the two teams have been quite different this year. North Carolina, this year has been talked about a lot more dominantly than that of Duke. And I think you saw some struggles from Duke. And it looks like a team that, come out. I think they were ranked second in the nation this year. Carolina coming in at number 19 this year. And, at the beginning of the year, it was like, oh, Duke's too stacked. They're amazing. They're set and primed for a national championship run. It's Duke's to lose. Duke UConn, you're going to see that matchup. And quickly, things started to change there, especially after the Arizona loss for the Duke Blue Devils. They've fallen back in the AP poll, I think, all the way to 21st, 22nd. They got all the way down there.
I want to say it was 23.
Okay, 23. And then they've worked their way back up to number 7 in the country. Russ, I'm going to start with you first. Coming into this matchup, what do you see? What do you like out of this matchup? Where do you think Carolina favors, and where do you think maybe Duke favors some in this matchup?
Well, I think that one of the more obvious things with Carolina is just going to be the grit and passion. And a lot of times, unfortunately, that's associated with Duke, that kind of clamp down defense, the tough, hard-nosed, gritty play that unfortunately those guys over there are commonly referred to or known as. But I think that that's kind of been Carolina's MO this year. And, so the lockdown defense, man, the ability to defend the three. And I think Armando, despite him having, some kind of pedestrian games here lately, he's still been fairly good on the defensive end. And I know a lot of people are clamoring for Armando and Jalen to be on the floor at the same time, or even for Jalen's minutes to increase, maybe even replacing Armando for a couple of those minutes that he logs. I still think that we have that as a key dominant factor down low with Armando Bacot on the defensive end. And I just love Carolina's grit, man. I mean, even against Georgia Tech last night, when they fell down by 9, they still battled back and they still had an opportunity to win, is it a bad loss? Absolutely. I think that's a bad loss. I didn't think there was any way, shape, or form that Georgia Tech would be able to pull that game out. But, I think Carolina got a little flat. And, I think that they'll turn it back up against the Blue Devils in Chapel Hill.
And Alan, I'll send that to you. Same question. What do you see in Carolina that you think favors them? And also, what do you see out of the Blue Devils that will potentially favor them in this game?
Well, we'll start with the better half. I think North Carolina, it will definitely be favored at the 5 position. The Mondo, Duke has Filipowski playing at the 5.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't believe Filipowski can guard Mondo one-on-one in the paint, there's just no way. There should be a steady diet of feeding Mondo in the paint and let him go to work against Flip and see if it can force a double team. Then Mondo's a pretty willing passer this season. I think when the double team comes, he needs to maybe pass it maybe 2 beats sooner than what he does, because sometimes he'll get turnover prone when that double team does come off the weak side. And Filipowski this season has been known to get in some foul trouble. Even against Virginia Tech, he picked up his 4th foul halfway through the second half. Then Ryan Young came in. Then he picked up his 4th foul, shortly after Filipowski did. They just let Ryan Young, just let him stay out there because, obviously they feel a little bit better about Filipowski than they do Ryan Young. So I think Filipowski is more foul trouble prone this season because he's playing that 5 spot. And, last year when they were, so good, he was at stretch 4. And then, you had Derek Lively, holding down the middle. Now, unfortunately, I think where North Carolina is going to struggle with Duke, it's going to be that middle ball screen. I'm sure, as you probably paid attention last night, that George, the fluffy haired kid, George.
Which we caught major flack for, by the way, in the comments later on that night. Big time.
Fluffy haired. I called him the fluffy haired kid because I couldn't remember his name right off the top of my head, but his first name is George. Whatever, George, the fluffy haired.
There we go.
No disrespect, he had a nice flowing head of hair. But if you noticed, they went with the middle ball screen, and it literally wore North Carolina out for most of the second half. North Carolina had no way of stopping it. They either, at first when North Carolina got back into the game after they got down 8 or 9 right there with 5 minutes, they were switching with Harrison.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the last possession of the game, when George scored the game-winning bucket, they switched it with Mondo. Then you got a point guard on Mondo, and yes, he's been playing great defense. And yes, that layup was on the wrong foot and the wrong hand. But at the same time, that middle ball screen gave North Carolina heavy pressure. They just wasn't guarding it well. Maybe they were flat on the defensive end. Maybe it's just they're not covering that middle ball screen well. Well, what does Tyrese Proctor and Filipowski do very well? The middle ball screen. What do I think Coach Shire is going to give North Carolina a heavy dose of until they can prove they stop it? Mondo in a pick and roll, and Huber likes to switch that because they think they can switch 1 through 5. That's my thoughts.
One thing I also want to kind of bring up right now, and we've talked about it on our show. Russ, I've noticed that you've talked about it on yours, especially coming into this matchup. Seeing what we saw over the past couple of games here, Georgia Tech shooting 45% from three-point line, Florida State shooting very similar to that. As we know, Duke has a couple of three-point shooters on that team that can light it up. Currently, right now on the season, Duke averaging 38% from three, Carolina averaging 35% from three. Alan, speak to us about the differences there and what Carolina needs to do to be able to combat that come Saturday night.
All right, so we discussed this throughout the day one day. The two Florida State games, North Carolina really struggled to guard Florida State at the 3-point line. I think the first game they had 12, and they was averaging like five or six 3-pointers a game. I think they went for 12 3-pointers the first time they met in Chapel Hill. Same thing in Tallahassee. They're averaging 6 threes a game. I think they had 6 in the first half, or maybe 5 in the first half, and ended the game with 9. And so me and you thought maybe it was just the length and the height advantage they had over RJ and Cadeau, that they were just able to rise above, and maybe it was contested, but they could still get the shot off because they're taller. So I proposed to you, I said, well, let's see what happens when they play Georgia Tech. Yes, Georgia Tech's got, their guards are a little taller, but they're not as tall. Same thing, Georgia Tech was getting those nice clean looks from deep. Outside of that one, like fade in, bank shot, put them up 4 with like 2 minutes ago. That was absolute trash.
Yeah, that's the perfect word to describe it.
So outside of that, you take away that one, so there's still 8 for 17 or 8 for 18. I think they finished 9 of 19, maybe. Is it 9 of 19? I believe it was 9 of 19. So if I'm Hubert Davis, and on the flip side of that coin, if I'm John Shire, I'm trying to run McCain and Foster. Yep. Just run them through ball screens, elevator screens, pin downs, any type of way to try to get them from an open look, just to see if North Carolina's defense is decreased, or if the 3-pointers that were taken were just being missed, because outside of McCain, Foster, Proctor can get it going, and Mondo's going to have to step out on Filipowski, because Filipowski is proficient. He's probably the 4th best shooter on the team, but you can't let McCain and Foster get good looks at the basket. They're just going to stroke the nets all night.
Yeah, definitely a guy you got to keep an eye on right there. Russ, I'll kind of come to you for a second. On the opposite side of the court, what does North Carolina need to do offensively to get this game going? Obviously, this last game we saw no person outside of RJ Davis in double figures. He had 28 points the other night, but we saw the emergence of Elliot Cadeau. We saw Harrison have some unfortunate couple of games here where he's kind of gone a little cold. Last night only I think he was 3 for something there, 14. And 3 of 14 from the field, and he's having some issues there. What does Carolina need to do offensively to be able to score points against a Duke team that very well may be getting hot from 3 on Saturday?
So I want to see him to continue to attack the basket, especially when you look at how Duke is logging minutes right now. They really do they go about 7 deep, so if you can get a couple of guys in foul trouble, you can get to the bucket, get Filipowski in foul trouble, kind of get him out of the game, and just keep attacking the rim, man. Elliott is almost impossible to stay in front of. And so he needs to continue to do what he's doing. And Armando, there's nobody down there that should be able to prevent him from creating good seals. We saw that a lot before the Georgia Tech game. Every time Elliott would go to the bucket, especially on that right hand, Armando was sealing it off for him. And he's basically it's a layup drill. And so I want to see them continue to attack the basket. Even if Duke is getting hot from 3, Carolina needs to be trying to get contact and ones and, finishing around the rim. And, I obviously also want to see some good sound passing. And when Armando gets the rock down low, he needs to go up and finish strong. There's a couple of bunnies that were missed. Yeah, a couple of bunnies that were missed, man. And you just got to go up there and finish it, bro. No lay-ins, man. Just bring the stinking rim down. That's what we need. Just attack the basket. Carolina needs to do that. And if they can get a couple of and ones and get some of those dookies in foul trouble, it's a recipe for success, man. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, Armando Bacot has unfortunately seemingly had some let's say lackluster games as of late. He come out against Georgia Tech last night really intense. Like he thought, all right, Armando Bacot's about to have a game. And then that was it. You never really saw much energy and passion out of him. And it's just kind of interesting. And me and you both, Alan, we talked about this last night after the game and our post-game reaction, that it seems that this North Carolina team at least has gotten out of a rhythm, because we know for 4 years now it's all been feed Armando, feed Armando, feed Armando, feed Armando, prayer shot outside, kick out if necessary, if you have to. But with this team, this team is played outside in.
Right.
The night, and when they had to go inside out, it was a struggle there. So let's talk about the importance. I want to know both your guys' opinions on this, on the importance of Armando Bacot in his effort, his motivation, and also his performance on the court Saturday night. Russ, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I think it's imperative. I mean, if Carolina is going to be what they need to be, he's a super senior, man. I mean, this is it. Yeah. This is your run, bro. And I'll be honest, it seems like too often here lately he'll go through stretches where he gives up, trying to establish position down low just too easily. And then, he's looking to come out and set a high ball screen or something like that. And they're not even getting good looks inside to him. And that's where, we've got to, because it can't just be the RJ Davis show every night. It can't. And I think that we've already shown that, for all intents and purposes, Cormac is not someone that you can consistently rely on to knock down open threes. Harrison's 3-point percentage has gone down a little bit, so you got RJ on the outside, who what you're getting from RJ every single night. We should know what we're getting from Armando every single night. And that's what we got to reestablish, man. We've got to have that presence down low so that people have to give him more attention. And he's getting double teams. He's getting double teams. And just like you guys were saying, man, he's got to be a beat or two quicker on the kickouts. If you see it coming, man, go ahead and kick it out so we can swing it around and get that good open look. But it is imperative that he gets back to the Armando that we all know and love. He's got to be physical, establish position, get the ball, go over the left shoulder, and he's got to be, a viable option down low on the blocks, man. We have to have that if we're going to be great.
No.
Yeah, I think we see Armando come out Saturday. That's going to be far more aggressive, because this is going to be the last time he plays that other team in the Dean Smith Center. He's not going to want to lose that game. But a quick stat, North Carolina was 8 for 22 around the rim against Georgia Tech. That's layups, 8 for 22.
Wow.
A good bit of those came at the very end of the game. Seth Trimble, for one.
Well, yeah, and Seth Trimble jumps so high.
Yes, he does.
So high. Ridiculously high.
It's awesome.
Yeah, he's an athlete.
And it's like he goes to lay it up and his hand is like over the basket. If you just like turn it over, it's in the basket. But instead, like, he's over the basket and bounces it off the glass and it spins out weird. Like, bro, if you just dunk it, like, you can dunk it. Just put everybody on a poster. It doesn't matter. You're up there already. Like, you're up there already. Just dunk it.
Gotta get some Trimble on Proctor action there. Like, put him on a poster, bro. Clear out the interior, Armando.
Yeah.
But Jalen Washington, he's that above the rim type big guy. You saw last night that you saw a couple times this year. He has no problem just yamming.
That's
Yeah,
true.
that was amazing last night.
Yeah.
By the way,
And,
that was
and last
amazing.
night was just a one-handed sledgehammer. Like, okay, nobody else wants to put it in the basket. I got it, and just one hand slams on it. But if Bacot reminds me of a lot of Kennedy Meeks. Kennedy Meeks did a lot of this below the rim, just throw it up, tip it up, get those offensive rebounds. I'm not really going to elevate to dunk. I'm going to elevate to dunk like when it's super cool and super flashy, like somebody throws me a nice little sweet little bounce pass. I take that one drop step and I yam it. But as a whole, Kennedy Meeks never really yammed it. Big Sean May, he was Big Sean May. He was below the rim, and Mondo. He's not big. He's pretty. He's kind of small weight wise for a 5-man. He's just very strong.
To interject right here to that point, when I went to the North Carolina Minnesota football game, as a matter of fact, the whole basketball team literally sat beside me, like out of the blue. And when I saw Armando for the first time, it looked to me like I was looking at, Kevin Durant on TV. And we all know how small Kevin Durant is.
Wow.
And it surprised me. His ankles were like that. But I'm like, you're huge, but you're small. It's surprising to me.
Yeah.
And I think even his jersey kind of helped him out a little bit with that. Yeah, but he's really not that big.
Yeah. No, he doesn't have his body fat percentage is not high.
No, it is not.
He's physically strong for that position. The height in the frame helps, but he doesn't have a lot of weight. So you would think naturally he could get above the rim, and obviously, yes, he can get above the rim. We saw the sweet little pass from Caleb Love when he come at the end of the game in Cameron when he's dunking and they're waving and cheering and smiling, just making my heart explode. So we know he can get up there. But he chooses not to. He chooses to on certain occasions. So, but that's been his problem in all 4 years, missing those short little bunnies.
Yeah.
So you take the good with the bad when it comes to Armando. But yeah, that 8 for 22, and I think Georgia Tech and North Carolina both shot 17 free throws. One was 15 for 17, the other one was 9 for 17. You can probably guess who was what.
Yep.
Right.
So between the 8, but you got to finish around the rim. I'm not trying to, preach on that Georgia Tech game, but that's been the struggle: free throws and layups.
Absolutely, it really has, and we've kind of become accustomed to seeing Armando miss a lot of those from time to time.
Yeah.
Over his span now of his 5th year, you've noticed that a lot from him. Don't know why that's been a consistent struggle of his, and you have to think if he's a guy that wants to play in the next level, he best well learn how to do that. Because I think personally, I think that's his ultimate goal is to try and at least attempt to go play in the next level. I don't see why you wouldn't, but he's got to work on that a lot. And
well, instead of going up and yamming it, I think he's on the catch, he just going up, trying to get it up on the glass before whoever's guarding him or the help side defense can come and block it.
Yeah.
And, offensive rebounds, if you tip, like if you're jumping up and you're just trying to tip it in, well, guess what? If you get your hand on that ball and tip it and it rolls off, guess what? That's a layup attempt.
Yeah, it looks like he's kind of like timid to go up. So, like Seth Trimble, he'll just go up just to freaking go up. He don't even care. Like he's a guy that's just like, I want all the smoke. I'm going up on top of that rim, and y'all can either meet me up there or not. I don't care.
Yeah.
But when a ball's bouncing around the rim or it's coming off the glass, that rebound's coming. It's like he hesitates and really looks and kind of like he's trying to build up reassurance in his mind. I don't know if he's had an injury somewhere in his life that maybe, and I know some people have that problem because even I've had a basketball injury that was pretty gruesome. And if I go up to rebound, I have to kind of think about it in my head a little bit for a quick second. So I don't know if maybe that's happened sometime in his life at some point.
Did you forget the ankle injury he had 2 years ago?
Well, that is true, and I mean he has had some bad injury problems there. So and maybe that is a a problem psychologically that he's just kind of working through, and maybe he'll get through that. Hopefully so, but definitely's got to bring some intensity there. I'll come to Russ with you on this. We've talked about Armando, and we already know what RJ is. But who else on this team do you see potentially being a really big factor for North Carolina Saturday? And Alan, right after he finishes, you answer as well.
Really big factor against this Duke team. I think Jalen Washington. I think Jalen Washington has an opportunity, man. Yeah, I mean, I really do. I mean, with his length and size, if he can log the minutes. I mean, when you look at the minutes that he logged, I think he had I want to say it was 11 minutes against Tech, and he had 8 points and 5 boards. And we'd already talked about the fact that Duke is kind of limited in who they have down low. And Jalen's ability to, one, like you guys were talking about, go up there, and he's willing to stink and throw it down. But he can also face up, and he can also knock down those 15-footers. He's good from behind the arc. So I think if Jalen gets enough burn, man, he could end up being an X factor in this basketball game. That's what I'm looking for.
Well, I'm not gonna lie. You took mine. Jesus Christ! So I'm just over here shaking my head, jumping out of my seat, and the whole time I'm shaking my head. I'm like, okay, it's really just the rocks rattling around in my brain, trying to figure out who I'm going to spit out next. Part of me wants to say Elliot Cadeau.
Yeah.
If he can get downhill, get some layups, or potentially throw one of those nifty passes to Cormac or Harrison, and they actually hit the shots. Then he's definitely an X factor. But I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna go Seth Trimble, not for his offensive capabilities, but for his able to be an absolute pest on defense. If Elliott gets in foul trouble, or when Elliott gets a breather, Tyrese probably thinks, I can, finally the starter's out, or Jeremy Roach, he's a little smaller, and he wants to try to get downhill on Seth Trimble. Well, guess what, fella? That's not going to happen.
Not going to happen.
Seth Trimble is a pit bull on defense.
Yep.
He is growing offensively, but the one thing he has since he's come out of high school is hops and defense.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, put that man on the other side of Marcus Allen come fall time. Let him put it.
I would probably say Caleb Cost, but whatever.
Caleb Cost is awesome, bro. I love that dude.
But yeah, I think that if Seth Trimble can come provide good defensive minutes and get a timely layup / dunk / corner three, even if he only scores 8 points, but he just provides absolute lockdown defense on either Tyrese Proctor, Caleb Foster, McCain, whichever one is trying to shoot the lights out at that time, at whatever time in the game. If he can come in and just sizzle that flame, I think that'll help North Carolina try to keep this game under 80.
For a lot of the same reasons you said Seth Trimble, I'm going to say Jalen Withers. Give me big 24, man. And I'm going to tell you why. Because Jalen Withers has that ability, and we saw it against his former team against Louisville. We saw it against, other teams before. He has that ability to be able to come in off the bench. And I love how all of us are bringing in bench guys. I love that. Because that's what's amazing about North Carolina is that they too can run 7, 8 deep. We can run it. And if Trimble's going and Washington is going, if they can get some good production out of and some of those big, awesome dunks that Jalen Withers just loves to throw down all randomly out there. Oh, dude, this play, not only is the Dean Dome and all the old people sitting up front going to sit there and get excited.
Yeah,
that team's going to be rocking, and everybody on the Duke bench is going to say, uh-oh.
Yeah.
And would be right. I'm taking big Jalen Withers, man. He's a guy that can't shoot the three. Obviously not a guy you're going to want to reliably shoot from there, and you're going to.
No, he shot a season high. He shot a career best last year. Louisville over 35%.
Yeah,
I think it was 38. But,
if all else
not getting a lot of run.
catch him wide open, who knows? He might knock down one. Seth Trimble as well, gotten a lot better from the corner three.
Yeah,
or
he might get ahead of steam, or he might get ahead of steam and throw it down on somebody. So
right, and could you imagine
like a Danny Green, Greg Paulus situation?
Oh, like Danny Green over Greg Paulus, bro.
Oh my God!
Could you imagine Seth Trimble and Jalen Withers on the break?
Oh,
one man to beat.
Oh my goodness!
That is double. That's double stuff. That's double stuff, boy. It's gonna be good.
I'm still hoping Jalen lobs it to Seth. I just think Seth gets up so much higher
off the inbound. Off the inbound. Give me one off the inbound. That one earlier in the season was awesome, bro. I forgot who that was against.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Go, man. But now let's start talking about Duke a little bit, because Duke's obviously a good basketball team. We can't negate that. And it's Duke, North Carolina. This is always a fun back and forth matchup. Even though North Carolina had a bad season last year, those games were decided by just a couple of points. And Duke was supposed to be so much better than Carolina, but those games are still only won by a couple of points there.
Hey, remind me again how both of those games was lost.
High pick and roll,
middle ball screen with Jeremy Roach.
Yeah.
Yep. And have they announced if Jerry Roach will be ready for this game Saturday?
He played against Virginia Tech.
Okay, so we expect him to be back, and he's going to be excited and everything. But if you're Hubert Davis, right, and Alan, I'll come to you first. Russ follow up right after him. But if you're Hubert Davis, who are you going to key in on? Who are you going to key in on Duke and say, you know what, make sure that guy has to beat us tonight. If you're going to beat us, that's how they're going to beat us. That guy's going to have a big night.
Oh, that's simple. You lock down. You play your best defense against Proctor, McCain, Foster, and you just have that like 2 years ago mentality. If Paolo Banchero can beat us, if he can score all 80, if he's going to score 80 points, then let him score 80. But he's going to have to be the one to do it. So this year, the same mentality. Mondo, appreciate your contributions. Hammer down on offense, but just buckle up your chin strap, and if Flip goes for 30, well, guess what? Flip got 30. But I think if Flip has to score 30, 35, 40 points, I don't think Duke wins the game. So you take away everybody and, just make Filipowski take tough twos, contested threes, and, if they're just going down at a high rate, salute. And as long as you don't let everybody else get off, then I think North Carolina comes out with a pretty solid victory.
Yep. And I would have to. I hate to keep it, elementary here, but I got to second it, man. I think that's the key. Roach, McCain, and Foster. Let Filipowski do what Filipowski does. If he scores 20, 25, so be it, man. But what we cannot let happen is Duke, those three, to get red hot from three, man. Can't let it happen, bro. And so that's where I'm having my guys stepping out. They're not giving them. I'm talking about a foot, 2 feet beyond the 3-point line. I'm making you drive. You're gonna have to bring it into Jalen and Armando, because we're not gonna let you just start knocking down 3 balls, man. Can't let Duke get hot, bro. So, just like y'all were saying, Roach, McCain, and Foster, bro. That's who I'm keying on right there. And I think Seth Trimble should get extended minutes because of his defensive prowess. And I'd love to see him guarding the ball, man. I'd love to see him on the ball. The guy's got, it seems like, unlimited energy. Every time whoever he's guarded, he is in a dominant defensive stance, man. He's trying to play defense against you. Yeah. So I would love to see Seth just be a pest all night for whoever's got the rock against Duke.
Yeah, dude, I absolutely 100% agree that he has a stance that's similar to what you guys remember Colin Sexton a few years ago ended up being drafted to
Oh, yeah.
Cleveland, and when he got into his defensive stance, especially during summer league, he would like hit the floor and stand there just like this, like he's getting ready to do a haka, bro.
Oh,
It was
man.
freaking amazing. I loved that guy. Loved his
Yeah.
time in Cleveland. He's in Utah now, but loved his time
when
in Cleveland.
When Seth gets in that stance, I played point guard for a little bit in high school, man. And when when a guy gets in that stance against you, you know that he's ready to play some stinking D, man. And that's in the back of your mind. You're like, man, this dude is about to stinking get. He's about to be physical with me. He's about to, yeah, exactly.
That's another thing. If Seth is on the floor and it's a guard on guard ball screen, I don't think you need to switch that. Let Seth go.
Absolutely.
You have to go around. You have to go over the screen. If you go under the ball screens on these guards, as soon as they come around, it's a pick and pop. They're going to come off of that screen, and if you're going under, you're too late. Yeah. I'm telling you, bro.
Very glad you just brought that up.
McCain and Foster, they can light it up from out there.
Yep. No doubt.
And whatever happens, if that's the way you're going to play it, and that happened a little bit late game last week on the big three that Sturdivant hit, that he just was jumping. He jumped from 3-point line and just faded that one right in. Harrison Ingram was in drop coverage. Can't do that. What North Carolina and Duke drop coverage? Everybody goes to that one play where Caleb hit the big three. Drop coverage. You cannot allow that to be the case. If you're going to fight over that screen, if let's say that same situation pops up, if Seth Turner's going to fight over it, don't play. If it's Harrison or Armando or who can't play in drop coverage, you've got to stay up. You can drop a smidge, but you can't drop all the way back.
Right.
So they definitely got to keep an eye on that and key in on that to make them think twice before popping a three. If he does get an open look for just a quick second, make him have to shoot over, some type of contest outside of just getting a wide open three and, having a much better shot of knocking that thing down. Right. So for Hubert Davis, the whole problem last year for sure was the Iron 5 plus Puff. Iron 5 plus Puff. We saw at the end of the Georgia Tech game where you seem like you just had this, I saw Withers get introduced just a little bit, but they kind of stuck with the 5 plus Seth. The 5 plus Seth. Russ, will come to you. For Hubert Davis and North Carolina to win this game, what should Hubert Davis's approach with depth be on Saturday?
Well, I'm not going to necessarily say stay with the Iron 5 because we've been talking about, a lot of these guys coming off the bench being X factors. But I would like to see him stick with the lineup when they go on these runs. Because I think occasionally what I'll see is I feel like we'll go on a little run. And then during the midst of that run, it seems like there's a substitution. And I understand the guys are getting tired and everything, but I'd like to see, whoever is getting the job done, man, you're on the floor, bro. And we're going to ride this run until this run is over. And then we'll stink and start subbing some guys in. So, I just want to, I want to continue to see, the guys that are on the floor, being successful on the offensive and defensive side of the ball. Let's keep them in the game. Let's keep them in the game. Let's finish the run. Then we can sub in and out. But like I said, I do believe that guys like, especially personally from my perspective, Jalen and Seth need to get extended minutes in this game. So, I mean, I'd like to see Cormac's minutes go a little bit down in this game. And he's a really good defender as well. He's a really good defender as well. But Seth he might be the best defender in the Atlantic Coast Conference, so I really want him to get some stinking extended minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. You have a follow-up?
Yeah, we gotta I guess it's who's bringing the energy. I honestly believe that's how Hubert Davis plays it. If you're showing, like, if there's games where you see Jalen Withers. He comes in, he logs a couple minutes. He's virtually a non-factor. He's not rebounding. He's missing shots. He's making lackadaisical mistakes on defense. He plays a minute or two and he gets yanked. But then you see a game like Louisville. He's aggressive. He's hitting shots. He's playing good defense, and he gets the minutes. And honestly, I believe that's how Hubert Davis has been playing the bench. Who is coming off the bench with that energy, effort, and toughness? That at the beginning of the second half against Georgia Tech, Mondo came out and literally let a ball bounce on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. This game was you came out of the locker room tied at half with an unranked, bottom of the barrel ACC team. Sure, they beat Duke, whooped it, trash. Sure, they beat Ole Miss or Mississippi State, trash. It doesn't matter. You're still the bottom of the barrel. You're undefeated in ACC play, trying to win 10 games in a row, or won 10 games in a row, trying to go for 10-0 in the league.
Or trying to go undefeated 10-0 in ACC play, and then you were going for your 11th straight win.
11th straight win, and you let a ball bounce. So what did Hubert Davis do? Hubert Davis yanked that joker out of the game, set him on the bench for, I think it was 5 game minutes, not 5 minutes.
Yeah,
5 minutes of game time.
Yeah.
Why? Because Jalen Washington was coming off the bench, getting rebounds. He was providing energy, effort, and toughness. That is the 3 things he preaches: energy, effort, and toughness. So whoever it is, if they come off the bench and give you energy, effort, and toughness, put them in, let them play. I don't care if Jalen Withers is going to give you 3 minutes of energy, effort, and toughness. Maybe he only gets 1 solid contested rebound. Maybe he gets he dives on a loose ball. That's the energy and effort and toughness. That's those 50-50 balls that makes 1 possession games turn into 2 or 3 possession games. He's looking for those players to play. And if you're not going to provide it, well, you can sit on the bench. He doesn't care. He's going to play the players that are giving him the most energy and effort. So whether that's Iron 5 or Elite 8, just play who brings the best.
Bro, that was very well said. Very, very well. You take a sip, brother. You have absolutely earned that one, bro. Hot, dog. I hear you, dude. That is what I am talking about. I love it, man. Absolutely love it.
The better half, son.
I give you that. But speaking of ACC play, Russ, tell us what the implications on the ACC standings this game could have.
Well, it's a real big game, man, because now Carolina's 9-1, and even though Duke is, what are they, 6-2 right now?
Mm-hmm.
6-2. I mean, they're a game and a half out of first place. Obviously, we play the same amount of stinking ACC games. So, I mean, this would kind of put them, almost in a run. They're 7-2. Yeah, they're 7-2. So they're a game and a half out right now. And obviously, you don't want to lose in Chapel Hill because you still got to go to Durham. So this is a huge game. It's a huge stinking game, man. And Carolina really does need to bounce back from that Georgia Tech game. So I think we've been real comfortable. We've been super comfortable, 8-0, 9-0, having a 2-game lead in the conference. You drop an unexpected one to Georgia Tech. You move to 9-1. If you drop this game in Chapel Hill, you've kind of, to a certain extent, put yourself in a little hole, because now you gotta win out until you get to Durham. You gotta hope that somewhere they drop one to get a little bit less pressure off of you, because we're kind of going into that stretch run. So I think that this is a really important basketball game. It's more important. Obviously, it's Duke Carolina, but it's even more important now that Carolina dropped that game against Georgia Tech. It's kind of sneaky.
Oh,
Potentially had some.
I thought it might have just been my internet. All right, well, I'll fill in a minute. I'm going to have to agree with you. It's very important. like he was saying, now that we got one loss, Duke has two. Duke comes into Chapel Hill, say they win the game. Now we're both 2 losses. So essentially, at the end of Saturday, Duke would be number 1, we would be number 2. Because why? Because at the time they owned the tiebreaker. So then that's going to make us have to go in to Durham and win the game. Because even if North Carolina wins out, if we lose to Duke again, and even if Duke drops another game, and we lose 2 games to Duke, but yes, they lost. Yes, they've lost 3. With that loss to Georgia Tech, that would make us 3 losses in the league. If Duke drops another one somewhere, that gives them 3 losses in the league. Then they still own the tiebreaker because they went 2-0 against us. So that would give them the regular season ACC title. We don't want that, obviously. So North Carolina needs to, for all the reasons, needs to beat Duke because it's Duke. First and foremost, beat Duke because it's Duke. But beat Duke because if you beat them, you own the tiebreaker. You give them 3 losses in the ACC. You give yourself you yourself only have 1. So even if you go, even if you don't lose another game until Durham, and say you go into Durham and you lose a close one, well, that gives you 2 losses in the league. That makes it 1-1. But guess what? Duke has 3 losses in the league. So you automatically own sole possession on the ACC regular season title. Hip hip parade! North Carolina's ACC regular season champions. But not to mention, you still have to go into Virginia Tech. You still have to go to Virginia and play. Yeah, Virginia, has been whatever, a pile of hot steaming garbage, it seems like. You still have to go on the road to Syracuse. I think they got their 7-foot center back. I think they're on the uptick playing better. I believe you still have to play Virginia Tech, maybe in Virginia Tech. You still have to go on the road to Miami, I believe. So you still got some quote unquote tough ACC road games to play. So you really don't want to have to go into Duke and win a game because I mean Clemson found out that's a hard place to win. Yep. Because especially when, now I don't know how Pitt went in there to win. I couldn't imagine losing to Pitt. Heaven forbid. I mean I couldn't imagine losing to Pitt at home. Jesus Christ, that's really got to suck. But that's neither here nor there. So I mean, if Pitt can go into Cameron and win, and Clemson probably should have went into Cameron and won. I have no doubts that North Carolina can go into Cameron and win, but you don't want to set yourself up for the situation where you have to go into Cameron and win in order to be ACC champions, regular season champions.
Yeah, and Russ, would you run down those ACC standings for us as we sit today, January the 31st of 2024?
So as of today, the mighty Tar Heels of North Carolina are obviously sitting at 9-1, and man, it just doesn't look as pretty as it has, man. But Duke is at 7-2. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so Duke is at 7-2. The Virginia Cavaliers are at 7-3. Florida State's at 6-3. The team that we love to hate is at 6-4. Fake is at 5-4. Syracuse, Miami, and Virginia Tech are at 5-5. Clemson is at 4-5. Boston College is at 4-6. Pittsburgh's at 4-6. Georgia Tech is at 3-7. And that's once again, I'm still baffled that we lost to that team. And then you got Notre Dame at 2-8. And then obviously the Louisville Cardinals are holding down the rear all the way at the bottom at 1-9. So,
boy, who was the one? What ACC school did they beat?
I'm trying to remember, man. That's actually a really good question. Let's see.
I don't remember them winning against an ACC school.
Who did Louisville beat?
I don't know, bro. That's
Miami. They beat Miami.
Yeah, it was
at Miami too.
Hey, bro, you down? Baby, let's go. Let's go, bro.
Yeah.
Oh man, that team was in the Final Four just a few months ago.
I know, it's crazy. It's crazy how they have not lived up to expectations thus far.
No, I think they came into the year ranked 11th.
Yeah.
Well, they lost that one guard that was so dynamic. The one that really made Miami go last year.
Yeah.
Picked up. They lost even in the portal too.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah, Cleveland.
Remember, Carolina was in the running for him.
Yeah.
Before Harrison Ingram.
Yeah.
I like our guys.
Yeah, I don't know. But let's one more thing before we get out of here. We're actually been going for right here for about an hour now. I'll start with myself, then Alan, and then Russ. You finish us up. The question is, at the end of the game, after it's all said and done and the buzzer's been sound, what will we be saying after the game? I'll go first. First off, I think North Carolina and Duke's going to live up to the hype once again. I think it's going to be a back and forth contest, crowd getting into it. Everything's going to be excited. But I think at the very end of the game, and especially in the last few minutes of the game, we're going to see North Carolina show out and be the North Carolina that we've saw for much of the year, especially throughout the month of January, outside of this final. Just saw this comment there, but outside of this last game against Georgia Tech, I think North Carolina goes out there. Armando Bacot ends up with a double-double. RJ Davis puts on another 20-point performance. Cormac Ryan ends up having another one of those standard Duke games that he likes to have, and he's in double figures. And Elliot Cadeau is also in double figures. Harrison Ingram ends up continuing a little bit of his shooting.
I mean, let's just name the entire team. Jesus Christ.
But I say North Carolina comes out with the win, and I think the spread is 85-78. You're up.
Oh, me? Okay. I think that we come out talking about the defense showing much improvement over what was the lackadaisical performance over Georgia Tech. I think that's going to be the third. We're going to hear, Sports Center talk about, North Carolina locking down McCain and Foster, not giving them any airspace to get off them, those three.
Well,
what do we lose him?
He's gone now too. Oh, well, he's back now.
Whoa! Where did I go? Hey. Okay, so what's the last thing you heard me say?
I heard locking down Foster and McCain.
Oh wow! I got way down the river. Okay, so we're going to be talking about UNC's defense locking down Duke's 3-point shooters. But then I also believe, in order for North Carolina to come out with this win, that we're going to have to talk about Cormac Ryan having a big game from deep. He's notorious for showing up for the Duke games when he was wearing other people's jerseys. I hope he can do the same thing in our jersey. If North Carolina's defense is as good as it had been, I'm leaning more towards we'll say 71-74.
Carolina?
Yes. Of course. I would never pick that team to win.
Not if everybody had ankle sprains.
After North Carolina got blew out by like 30 in the Smith Center when Paolo Banchero came to town, I was dumb enough to put 250 up against North Carolina beating Duke and Cameron. Turned out for good for me, huh?
250 turned into 500 real quick.
Oh man. Yeah, man. So after Duke Carolina, man, after the game, we're saying to ourselves that the Georgia Tech game was an absolute fluke. Carolina's going to come out. They're going to play defense. I think it is going to be a back and forth affair. And I think that, it's going to be close. I think that Carolina's a better team overall, but I think that it is going to be a close game, man. I think RJ does RJ things. I think this is a game where we're praising the bench, Jalen and Seth especially. So I think after this all said and done, I wouldn't put it past both of those guys in double figures, because I do think that Seth is going to get extended minutes in this game, or I personally think that he should. But I think that it'll be an instant classic, and taking the Heels 78-75.
Oh, okay. Not too far off from where I was, man. Man, this has absolutely been a blast. I'm not gonna lie, guys. This has absolutely been fun. We've been going for an hour. Normally our preview prediction videos aren't maybe 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes at that. But this has been an absolute.
We don't really have guests over very often, so yeah.
No. Honestly, this is Russ the Tar Heel is the first ever, and it has been quite an honor having you, sir. By the way, another commenter in the has a 10-point win for North Carolina in the comments there.
That would almost be a blowout in my stinking mind.
Yeah.
I think when it comes to Duke, North Carolina, 10 plus is a blowout. And that's right.
I agree.
Oh, dude, yeah.
Because most of these games are played within 4 or 5 points, up until the final 30 seconds. Then, free throws and all that. But,
Yeah. But, hey, man, this has absolutely been amazing. If you're listening to this, and be sure to go over, click to the description, go down in there, and go to the Tar Heel Huddle YouTube page. Click there, join over there, subscribe with him if you feel so kindly and you want to. Be sure and join his Huddle Hooligans he's got going on over there. He's got a few of them over there now, man. And
do tell.
Yeah, that list is getting bigger and bigger. And Russ, we are just excited to have you here, man. And we really do appreciate you taking the time coming out with us and chatting it up about Duke and North Carolina.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you guys having me. I mean, I really do.
Oh, no, shameless plug, son. Tell us about these hooligan things.
Oh, man, it's just we got, like a members only thing, where I'm kind of attempting to put together some members only content, so it's kind of more or less, we're going to be making some t-shirts and stuff like that. So some Carolina gear that's, not trademarked by Carolina. It's just kind of, our own thing and everything. So put out right now it's just a few contents just for the members, but because obviously it takes a lot of time to put that stuff together, man. But it's just, you get a couple of perks, man. It's like $5 a month. And, we got a couple of guys in there. It's a nice little tight knit community. That's what I'm trying to say. So, pretty cool, man.
That's cool. Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah. Hey, it's been absolutely amazing, guys. Appreciate you all for joining us. Alan, as always, appreciate you, buddy, for coming out here and having a good time. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for being here. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, do all that fun stuff down in the comments. Tell us what you think about the Duke North Carolina game going on this Saturday. Got a few things I'm going to be talking to all you guys, right here in the next coming days. A couple of things that's actually going to start on the Duke North Carolina night. It's going to be amazing. Really looking forward to that. And it's going to be a really, really good few days, I do believe, if you are a North Carolina fan. But anyway, thank you all for watching. Thank you all for being here. And as always, Go Heels.
Go Heels, baby.
You don't want none. I'm good. You don't want none. You don't want none.